In any event, so why don't we call the meeting of the Board of Public Works to order on April 20th, 2017. Would you please call the roll?
Mayor Donchis?
Here.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Here.
Commissioner Pappas?
Here.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Here.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Here. So we have Commissioner Pappas on the phone, so I will direct these questions to Commissioner Pappas, which are a requirement of the state law. Commissioner Pappas, can you state the reason that you cannot attend in person today?
Yes. Because of my asthma, the treatment facility is a difficult place for me to be in attendance in.
And is there anyone with you, anyone present with you?
In the household, my son is currently here. He'll be leaving soon, and my daughter will be coming home soon.
Okay. And we need to take all votes by roll call.
Okay.
Which is a requirement. So the first item on our agenda is the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second the motion?
Any discussion? Now, before we vote, we have to do everything by roll call. So could you please call the roll?
Just a question.
Oh, yes.
We got a goldenrod copy. What were the changes?
Yes. So the only two changes are under engineering, motion F and motion G were added.
Under which section?
Engineering.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donchis?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
And before we go further, let me recognize that we have here Alderman Siegel, who's our liaison. Alderman Dean is also present, as well as many members of the Department of Public Works staff. Our next issue is to approve the minutes of the Board of Public Works meeting of March 23rd. Is there a motion on that?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Public Works Budget Workshop of March 16, 2017.
Second the motion?
Any discussion? All right, so we're going to move to approve the minutes, which must be by roll call.
Mayor Donchis?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
Next item is public comment. Is there any member of the public present who would like to speak to the board? Oh, what did I say?
Motion
five.
5.
I missed.
The other minutes. We had two sets of minutes.
Oh, we have two sets of minutes, I'm sorry. We need to approve the minutes for March 23rd meeting. Is there a motion on that?
So moved.
Seconded?
Any discussion? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donchis?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
Next, we have public comment. Any member of the public wish to speak? No one has come forward. Next section of the agenda is Parks and Rec. We have an informational item. Who is going to, will the director be,
For,
do you want any discussion on this or just?
I don't know. No, I don't think we need
It
to.
should be a motion.
Yeah.
Motion to accept, right?
Yeah. It shouldn't be informational, it should be
Yeah,
a
it's
motion.
not information. It
Actually.
should be a motion.
So is that a motion by Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second the motion?
And the motion is to accept the retirement of David LaJoy effective April 11th, 2017. Any discussion on that motion?
You want to say a few words, Nick, perhaps?
41 minutes.
Yeah, Nick Caggiano, Park and Rec Superintendent. I just want to say, Dave was at Stella Stadium since the day it was built. Excellent job, outstanding employee. I'm really going to miss him. It was at the point where sometimes I'd forget about him because we never had any problems over there, and I'd say, oh my, I have to go see Dave. So I wish him well. He worked hard. He deserves everything he got. And it's going to be a loss for us. Big shoes to fill.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Moriarty.
Just to mention that there was a very nice article on Dave in the Telegraph on the sports page. Very, very nice. So, thank you.
Anyone else?
No, just for 41 years is a long time to work for the city, and probably won't be too many people that are work for the city for 41 years. And he was such a staple at Stellos. Anytime anybody, it's almost like it was his stadium, basically. So just to go with everybody thanking him for service. 41 years to the city is a long time.
Commissioner Ackerman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there an opportunity for the director, on behalf of the commissioners, to write a thank you letter to him for his years of service with the...
Absolutely.
Thank
Be
you.
happy to.
Anything further? So the motion is to accept the retirement. Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
We now have the wastewater department. Commissioner Bergeron.
Make a motion to approve under letter A the user warrants as presented.
Second the motion?
Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron.
Under letter B, I'll make a motion to approve the selection of Mr. Scott R. Law of Nashua, New Hampshire to the position of wastewater foreman at the wastewater treatment plant. Starting salary for this position will be $31.08 per hour. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Wastewater Account Classification 51, Salaries and Wages.
Second the motion?
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Kind of appropriate hiring him at the wastewater treatment plant. But...
That's right, and you know, he is actually here.
Oh, really? I was going to say, too bad he's not here
Can you
tonight.
stand up just for a second, not to embarrass you too much, Scott,
Great.
but Scott went through an interview process, and you know, there were other candidates, and he did very well in the interview, and I met with him, and he talked about what some of his ideas are, and so I think he and Matt are going to make a great team here, and help support Noel. So very excited that he wanted this position, and excited to see what he's going to do here.
Anyone else?
Congratulations.
Commissioner Moriarty.
Scott, I was happy to see that you were a Coast Guarder. I had a brother who was a retired Coast Guard officer, and good to see. Great.
Commissioner Pappas, do you...
I just was going to say congratulations.
All right, well, could we please call the roll?
Mayor Donches?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
We now move on to the solid waste department. Commissioner Bergeron.
Under letter A, I'll make a motion to approve a one-year extension, July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, of the current contract for the transportation and processing of the cities with single-stream recyclables to Casella Recycling LLC of Charlestown, Mass. in the amount of $249,925. This extension will be pending approval of the FY18 operating budget, funding through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund, Solid Waste Account Classification, 55 other contracted services.
Second the motion?
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Ackerman.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't know if the director or the superintendent of solid waste how does this compare year over year in terms of cost to the city?
So it's variable. It's based on the average commodity revenue. So there's a formula. We have, as of late, we really haven't been paying much of anything, 0 to less than 10. We do pay $225 a load, though that remains constant. But we do see the prices edging up. So I think we will be paying at least $10 a ton in the very near future. And it looks like it's trending upwards. So, but we do have a ceiling at $35 per ton, so that's the most that we would have to pay. And we did a little research, and we think this is the best deal that we can get, at least for the next year, and then within next year, probably next winter, we'll go out again and see what we can do. But the recycling market's been very unstable in the last couple of years, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
Motion passes. Commissioner Bergeron.
Under letter B, I'll make a motion to approve the selection of Mr. Eric Courier of Nashua, New Hampshire to the position of automated CEO driver of the Solid Waste Department. Starting salary for this position will be $24.49 per hour for a yearly salary of $50,939.20. Funding for this position is through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund, Solid Waste Account Classification 51 Salaries and Wages.
Second the motion?
Is there any discussion? If not, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
So we're going to now move on to the engineering department.
Under letter A, I'll make a motion to approve the residential and commercial wastewater service permits and fees as submitted.
Second the motion?
Any discussion? Would you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
The motion passes. Commissioner Bergeron.
Under letter B, I'll make a motion to approve the drain layers license for Newport Construction, 145 Temple Street, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03060, in accordance with Nashua City Code 255-19, issuance of drain layers license.
Second the motion?
Any discussion? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
Motion passes. Commissioner Bergeron.
Under letter C, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of manhole and catch basin castings from E.J. Prescott, Inc. of Concord, New Hampshire, in the amount of $58,103.70. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Wastewater Activity Sewer Structures.
Second the motion?
Discussion? Would you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron.
Under letter D, I'll make a motion to approve the engineering contract with Stantec Consulting Services, Inc. of Burlington, Mass. in the amount not to exceed $50,000. Funding is contingent upon the approval of bonds that will be funding the multi-year paving project. Department 160 Admin Engineering Fund Bond Activity Paving.
Second the motion?
Any discussion? Commissioner Bergeron.
While we're on the next couple of motions, as far as the paving contract for this year, or not the paving contract, we have the ones we approved, the streets that were approved for this year, spring and fall. But in regard to the bonding, does any of that work we think going to be done this year, the $7.5 million, or is that, people have been asking, and I'm saying kind of probably not as far as the actual paving?
We hope so. I mean, city engineer, right there. We've been talking about that. We hope that in the fall, we can do some paving in the fall. We're hopeful. That's why we're getting some of this, the Stantec and the Hannah Swanson contracts approved, so that we can really get going, so that when the bond is actually in place, we can.
But any of that bonded work, that'd be more of a bonus. So if the general public, for folks, it really won't be this year for the most part.
The majority
If it would
won't
be
be
in
this year,
the
right,
fall.
it would be, right.
The
The bulk
money-
of it wouldn't be this year, for sure. But
It's all right,
we do plan to get started this year.
The money that the Broad Street Parkway paving of those other roads, is that this year for sure?
That's gonna start this year. It won't finish this year, but it is going to start.
Okay,
Yep,
great, thank you.
yes.
Anyone else? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes,
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
Motion passes. Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
under letter E, I'll make a motion to approve the engineering contract with Hayner Swanson, Inc. of Nashua, New Hampshire in the amount of $245,000. Funded is contingent upon the approval of the bonds that will be funding the multi-year paving project. Department 169 Admin Engineering Fund Bond Activity Paving.
Second the motion.
Discussion? Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes, I was just wondering if this was a contract that went out to bid, or is this...
Steve Dugan, city engineer. This is an engineering contract, and we didn't go out to bid, or we didn't request any kind of proposals. We decided to go with Hayner Swanson because of their past experience with the city in doing this kind of work with us, as well as the success we've had with Hayner Swanson. They're very familiar with our process, very familiar with the city, they're local. So we didn't think it was necessary. In fact, we think if we go out, we wouldn't get anything that's competitive with Hayner Swanson.
Commissioner Ackerman?
The $245,000 appropriation for funding here, is that anticipated to be a one-year contract for the initial 1 year of $7.5 million, or is that going to cover all 5 years of the proposal?
This is for 1 year. This is for the first year bonding. It's based on a full year of work by Hayner Swanson. And when we go into the second year, it will be reevaluated. It may be more, it may be less that we need. And one of the things that we want to do by hiring Hayner Swanson is to help train my staff in doing this kind of work better, so we become more efficient and less dependent on hiring outside help.
If I understood, I don't know if I read it in this particular page of the agenda today, but as we bring Hayner Swanson on, the plan is to reevaluate the streets with Stantec. Why might that be needed if we've already evaluated them within the last 4 or 5 months?
Actually, the street survey for condition was done about 18 months ago, in the fall of 2015, so approaching 2 years. The report that you have is based, what we had, for the last few months, is based on that condition survey. With 2 winters gone, the streets have definitely become worse, so we need new numbers. The plan was, if you remember from Stantec, was to evaluate a third of the street network every year. If we were just 1 year from 2015, we'll be reevaluating a third. At this point in time, we decided to do 50% to get better numbers, to make sure that the streets that we select to go forward for paving, the right treatment is being applied to those streets.
Okay, no, thank you. So I'm assuming that as we look over this year over year, there's going to be a possibility of not appropriating as much money for this multi-year paving program based upon the transfer of knowledge and expertise from the Hayner Swanson Stantec to your department. Is that correct?
I anticipate that. However, it all depends on the amount of work that we have to do. There's a lot of coordination with the utilities, coordination with the sewer work, looking at the conditions of the sewers and which ones the streets we have to avoid, a lot of planned production. We may have we're going to be trying to do 20 miles of streets of paving. Currently, we do between 5 and 7. I don't have the staff to do that inspection. So it may be reduced. I expect that to be the case, but
Okay,
I can't promise it.
okay. All right, understood. Thank you.
Alderman Siegel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to point out, I'm sorry if I missed it, I was a little distracted, but these bonds have been approved by the board.
Yeah, they have been approved.
So all the contingencies are, it's there. So if you vote for it, it's going to go through.
Commissioner Moriarty.
Yeah, I think you already answered the question, but the contract also includes looking at the sewers to see which ones have to be replaced. Is that before we pave the road?
Yes.
That's why we have the engineering firm, right?
So we look at utilities, all the underground utilities, water, gas, there's some electric, there's some communication lines, as well as our sewers, especially in the city where we have the older sewers, deteriorating sewers. Those have to be reviewed. So there's a lot of work to be done.
Right.
Anything else? Dan, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes.
Motion passes and the contract is approved. Commissioner Bergeron.
Under letter F, I'll make a motion to approve the award of the construction contract for the 2017 sewer rehabilitation project to D. Felice Corporation of Dracut, Mass. in an amount not to exceed $3,255,683.30. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Wastewater Activity Sewer Rehab.
Second the motion?
Discussion? Commissioner
Well,
Moriarty.
this is a new motion, so I think we should have some kind of explanation
Yeah.
on it.
Yes, that's fine.
We received bids last week on the sewer project, and the lowest bid, De Felice, is somewhat higher than we had anticipated. And so we've been working with them. It doesn't leave enough contingency for in case there are changes. We always like to leave some money in the account to address any unforeseen changes. And so I've been negotiating with them, and at this point we expect to save about $80,000. So the work is on the old sewers, like I was talking about before, sewers with problems, like no bottoms, no tops, sinkholes, and so on. We also have the lateral pipes that come in, and those pipes are as well have aged, and they need to be addressed. So all of this work is going to be starting this year upon approval of the contract, and we expect to go over the 2 construction seasons, this year and next year's. We have some coordination, some continued coordination with utilities as well. Some streets have to have gas finish their work and water finish their work as well. So that's the essence of what we're trying to proceed with.
Commissioner Moriarty.
So does this link onto the previous motion? Will Hayner Swenson be involved with this process as well?
The process, the sewer process as a whole, but these streets have been selected, and the paving of these streets has been deferred until the sewer work is done. So these are taken care of, but other streets like these with sewer issues, Hayner Swenson will be involved.
Commissioner Ackerman.
Just for my own education or edification, what's the definition of 2 construction seasons? Are we talking June of this year through June of 2019?
A construction season typically is May through, in case of sewers, you can be as late as November. So that you put your tools down and go into the next year, May through November of next year.
2018. Thank you.
Anyone else? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes.
And the motion passes. Commissioner Bergeron.
Under letter G, I'll make a motion to approve drain layers license for Tom House Septic Systems, 29 Patton Road, Merrimack, New Hampshire, 03054, in accordance with Nashua City Code 255-19, issuance of drain layers license.
Second the motion?
Discussion? If not, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes.
Motion passes. And now we move on to the street department. Commissioner Bergeron.
Under letter A, I'll make a motion to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $9,280.50 to Midgie Corp. of Henniker, New Hampshire, for the purchase of additional retaining wall block for the skateboard park project. Funding will be through Department 161 Street Fund, General Account Classification 81, Capital Outlay Improvements.
Second the motion?
Is there discussion?
I'm curious,
Commissioner
are
Pappas.
we right on target with the budget for the skateboard park, or is it starting to go over budget?
No, we're on budget for the skate park. It was always the intent of the street department to do as much of the site work as we possibly could, so that we could use as much of the money set aside for concrete for the actual park. So we had a budget and we're on target with that budget.
Okay.
And what do you anticipate the opening date to be at this point?
Sometime in July. I don't think it'll be July 1, but sometime in July. So, but we'll have substantial progress,
And
by July
I think
1st.
we've received a promise from Alderman Siegel that he's going to be out there with his suit on to inaugurate the park.
Yes, my wife has
Correct.
promised she will be incredibly annoyed,
Yeah.
and she will definitely keep that promise.
We're not going to forget that.
Now,
Do we need
I've
a
actually looked at my suits and tried to figure out which one I'm going to set aside to be destroyed when I fall within 3 seconds. And I've made sure my insurance is up to date, so I'm good to go.
Great.
All right, anything further on this motion? Commissioner Bergeron.
Is the existing skate park going to be staying open, or when is that scheduled to close?
No, that's scheduled to close July 1.
July 1, so that's still on for July.
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman.
When we approved the skate park initially, wasn't there a funding resource for that was outside of the city budget?
That's correct. Yes.
Is this same?
There is a no. This is not coming out of that. This is coming out of the street department budget.
And it's necessary, correct? This
Yes.
is absolutely. Okay,
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything further? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Yes.
Motion passes. We shall move on to administration. Commissioner Bergeron.
Under letter A, I'll make a motion to approve the Division of Public Works FY18 budget as submitted.
Second the motion?
And this budget is exactly what was presented to you. There have not been any changes.
Any discussion? Commissioner Bergeron.
So that you answered my question. We hadn't gone over, so nothing's changed. This is exactly what was presented to us on our budget meeting, because we
Yes.
hadn't gone over the other contracted services in any of those accounts, and I did go over them myself, but nothing's been changed.
No.
And we didn't make any adjustments to that budget at all.
No.
And we're coming in.
Carolyn O'Connor's here.
And we're coming in at what? What is our budget increase?
About 1.3%. 1.3%.
1.3?
Yes, for the general fund accounts. A little bit more for solid waste and less for wastewater. But I think correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, but you, even after this is approved by the Board of Public Works, you still have you still could possibly make some changes.
I
Is
could.
that correct? Okay.
And can some changes be made by the Budget Review Committee?
And this is Commissioner Ackerman has asked the question. And the answer to that is...
Commissioner Pappas asked.
Excuse me, who did I say, Commissioner?
Commissioner Ackerman.
Oh,
That was
Commissioner Ackerman. Commissioner Pappas has asked the question, and yes, well, the Budget Committee will receive the budget along with the rest of the city budget. They can recommend changes to the Board of Aldermen. Any changes, though, would need to be passed by the full Board of Aldermen on a 10-vote majority if ultimately the budget is increased in any line items, or by an 8-vote majority if the budget is either reduced or not increased.
So 10 votes if it's increased.
Correct.
Okay. My concern, and I had expressed this earlier. I am a little bit concerned now that I've watched the Board of Aldermen meeting, and we had a change that some items are in under the cap and some are not under the cap. And I just think in the future, I'm afraid it might hurt the wastewater treatment facility and budget itself if we have some of these items part in and part out. So I would move that we take those positions that are partially in wastewater, partially under other departments, and move and take all the partial charges out of the wastewater.
The motion is to take any partial charges out of wastewater and put them into public works. Is that correct?
Yes.
Needs a second.
The commissioner should talk first.
That would require a second. Which it does not receive.
I mean, we want to talk about it, or?
It's got no second.
I'll second it for discussion purposes.
The motion has been seconded. Alderman Siegel.
Is there a commissioner that wants to address this? Because it's your commission. If not, I would be happy to.
Commissioner Ackerman.
I don't have a full appreciation of what's been talked about, so if we get some education there from Alderman Siegel, I have no problem.
Well, we are legally required to charge costs related to wastewater to the wastewater fund, correct? I'm asking that question of the director.
I think so. I'm not sure what the legal aspects. I know that that's very typical, where we certainly can't charge more than the time that is allocated to wastewater to the fund, but it's general practice when you have an enterprise fund or a wastewater fund that you would charge the time of the staff to that fund.
So we're legally prohibited from charging anything more to the wastewater fund than the costs that are actually incurred by the wastewater.
That's correct.
So if a person spends 20% of their time working on the wastewater fund or at the wastewater treatment plant, no more than 20% of that person's time could be assigned into wastewater.
Correct.
Alderman Siegel.
If Commissioner Pappas wants to speak, she's a commissioner. I defer to Commissioner Pappas. It sounds like she
Commissioner
wants to say
Pappas, do you
something.
wish to speak on this?
I do. I have concerns that we really don't keep a real accurate tracking of the amount of time people spend there. We'll remember Alderman Siegel was not in attendance when we had our budget committee meeting, and I think that Commissioner Bergeron had asked how we keep track of the time, and it's just a guesstimate. And I have noticed that we've had a lot more administrative costs the last few years that I have been on this board, and I'm really afraid that in the future, that if we're looking for a way to come in underneath the cap, that it's going to be the wastewater budget that really might have to take the hit for that. And for example, the new position we have during the budget crisis, the board approved a new position that deals with public relations, and we charge 20% of that person's time there. We probably don't have a good idea as to how much time is going to be spent there. In the past, we never had an operations manager, which now has been moved to the assistant director of public works. And I'm just afraid that we're incurring more administrative costs than we have in the past, and I'm afraid that'll only get worse. So that's my concern.
Alderman Siegel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, as a representative from the Board of Aldermen, let me make a few observations. First of all, we were discussing the David Dean Skate Park, as I understand, but so it's straight afield. Now,
we are on the budget. We are on the budget.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, budget item. So, we're talking about split positions. Split positions happen everywhere. That's perfectly logical, and there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, it's the correct way to account for anything. If I were on the budget committee of the Board of Aldermen and didn't see split positions, I would not approve that budget. That is not how we budget. Okay, so that's one thing. As far as this constant refrain of this magical position that appeared out of nowhere, the reason it was titled that way was so that we could get somebody to fill the position. And that was made very clear at several BPW meetings that I attended. So again, this whole like somehow wastewater is going to be robbed thing is complete. Honestly, I find it not credible by any means whatsoever. Not only during the budget committee meetings is this reviewed extensively, but every 2 weeks we review at the finance committee, where I am also a member, the expenditures to make sure they're legitimate. And as members of the BPW that know, there are certain times that there's been some allocation to different funds that we've said, wait a minute, I'm not sure that that's okay. And we've had a discussion about it, and either there's been some agreement, okay, there was some misunderstanding on the finance committee's part, or there was a misunderstanding some other way and things did get changed. So again, there's clear oversight at many levels, and it is logical and almost imperative by any rational means you would run an organization to have split positions. The budget has split positions in a separate part of the budget, and it goes well beyond wastewater. Several departments have split positions. So I feel like, honestly, I apologize if I'm getting a little bit excitable, but this is beyond the pale. This is a done deal. This is just, this has been hammered beyond belief. And as a member of the Board of Aldermen responsible for reviewing this, I'm just, it doesn't hold water. None of these discussions hold water, or that line of reasoning just does not make sense. And it's not fair to the staff to keep saying that. Enough already, please. It's too much. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Mayor, I watched the Board of Aldermen meeting. We talked about column A or column B. And I do really have a problem, that tone almost really becoming bullying. And I think that I have every right as a representative of the people to ask these questions. And I'm absolutely not impugning any member of the staff. And I've really tried to be careful of my tone, but I think that just because someone doesn't like what's being said, they don't have to bully and attack people. And I think, frankly, it's been obnoxious. And I do think that I'm simply trying to represent the people as far as not having the wastewater bills go through the roof, and I am in no way attacking staff members.
All right, well, let's go back to the merits of the motion. So, looking at the city engineer's position, for example, 15% of the city engineer's time is assigned to the wastewater fund. Now, we know that the city engineer works on the wastewater fund and the sewer system. He just got up here and testified and told us about the sewer projects that he's involved in. Now, I'm actually surprised that he hasn't spent more than 15% of his time, because this is a big part of the budget, but I accept his estimate that it's 15%. But if we were to switch this out of wastewater into the regular budget, it would increase property taxes. And why would we, and this is a rhetorical question, in my mind, raising property taxes is not something we want to bring about. So if someone like the city engineer is legitimately, I mean, no question about it, spending time on the sewer system and the wastewater system, of course his time should be allocated to that purpose, so that the property taxes reflect services that are being paid for by property taxes, and the wastewater fund pays for services that are being rendered under the wastewater fund.
We have an extra $9 million under the cap now, and I actually added up. It's under $400,000 that we have shared positions. And as I said, my fear is that that eventually we may be damaging the wastewater department by having these shared positions. I think that it should be column A or column B. That's what other communities with a similar setup we have with a spending cap and also wastewater fund. That's how they do it, and I just think that we might be getting ourselves in trouble in the future.
Commissioner Ackerman?
No,
Commissioner Bergeron?
Well, we are going to pass our budget tonight, I would assume, or submit our budget, so certainly it's worth having the discussion here and hopefully settling what the board, because at the end of the day, this is the Board of Public Works decision on what we want to do as far as sharing these positions. And I think it's a legitimate discussion to say, when we're sharing positions, how much is going in each department. That's a fair question. And we know people are spending time there. So, you know, I think it's fine to have the conversation, and hopefully tonight we can answer any questions anybody has, and then move on to the Board of Aldermen with the budget. I would
Could I make a correction to what I said? Actually, I was looking at solid waste. 15% of the city engineer's time goes to solid waste. And if you look at wastewater, and I said I was surprised that it was only 15 to wastewater, and the reason is I was wrong. It's 35% of the engineer's time go to wastewater, which seems to me consistent with the substantial amount of responsibility he has in the wastewater system. But Commissioner Bergeron, did you finish, or?
Yes, and so I said I would just say that that we should, if we don't have better accounting of time that people are spent in the places, and it seems reasonable, I guess I would expect that the city engineer would spend time there and other folks as well. And if an accounting practices as far as keeping track of time is whether we need more help there, whether it's in engineering, what have you, by keeping track of time.
Anyone else? The motion pending is to change all of the budget positions that are shared, appear in the wastewater fund, that are only partial positions, and move them into the the public works budget. Could you please call the roll on that motion?
Mayor Donchis?
No.
Commissioner Bergeron?
No.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
No.
Commissioner Ackerman?
No.
Motion fails. Any further discussion on the budget? If not, the motion before us is to approve the budget. If there's no other discussion, would you mind calling the roll on that motion?
Mayor Donchis?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
No.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
And the budget is approved. The next item under administration is an informational item, Burke Street update.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna wait a minute, okay.
Who's going
I was
to
just-
do the?
So,
is
as far as Burke
director?
Street goes, we are still waiting for numbers. We're planning a meeting on May 8th with the entire team, including, I don't know if Diane sent that out yet, but we're hoping to have a meeting. And we have some additional numbers from HKT that they'll be presenting to us. And then hopefully, we'll make some decisions about what to present to both the Board of Public Works and the Board of Aldermen. So.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments?
Did you say you had a
Commissioner
date?
Bergeron.
A
May
date?
8th.
May
We're
8th?
May 8th at 10. Diane is supposed to, okay, she hasn't done that yet.
Okay.
May,
I won't
so,
hold you to it if
yes,
it
May,
changes. I'm just
no,
trying
May
to-
8th at 10 is when we'd like to have it, but it depends again if everybody can make it. Yeah.
Any further questions or comments on the Burke Street update? If not, we'll move on to the next informational item, which is the director's report.
We're just gonna, we're just gonna ask you to just, if you don't mind, just because we don't want to blast you with a light. Thanks, Andy. Okay. First thing I wanted to mention is the skate park. The street department, along with engineering, has made significant progress on the first phase of construction, the rough grading, excavation, site drainage, and other tasks to prepare the shaping of the internal park features. This is the outlet pipe. Just on that will allow the skate park to drain by gravity into an existing detention pond that also serves Stello Stadium. You may have noticed we on all our sewer interceptor structures, we have installed secondary grates now. They were all locked. Now we have secondary grates that are locked, and then we have covers that are locked as well. So we added that extra safety feature that you had approved quite a while ago. That work has finally been completed. This is sewer and drainage construction inspection at a new subdivision near Shore Drive. There's 34 houses going in. The developers at Stone Properties. This is a water main repair here at the wastewater facility. Street department did. Penachuk also helped. I want to thank them for their assistance as well. This is, again, some drainage installation at the skate park. I know Superintendent Ibarra is very proud of his staff. They did a really great job. This is the first run of pipe, which was about 86 feet. And we've got how many feet now, Superintendent?
What's that?
How many feet of pipe have you run?
450.
450 feet now, so it's run a lot of pipe. The last snowstorm of the season, our April Fool's storm, we got about 5 inches, and this was a snowman that somebody made on, still had a good sense of humor as of April 1st. We didn't. This is a signal repair on East Hollis Street at Spruce during a snowstorm, no less. Some of the work that our mechanics are doing, rebuilding the dump piston on truck 67, some mower maintenance, airline repairs, hydraulic repairs on some of our automated trucks, exhaust manifold repair, service repair. It's been very busy. And this is a picture of our new service truck. This is our welder, Chris Nelson, who's doing some work on the visitors dugout at Holman Stadium. He's cutting away old steel so a new sill plate can be fabricated and installed. This is Lions Field. We're doing some spring preparations at the ball fields. This is on Marshall Street. We installed the plaque at the City Hall bell. If you haven't seen it. This is a picture of Dave LaJoy at an open house on April 11th before he left. See his Lake Bumway sign. Shed that was installed at Lincoln Park. The street department assisted in cleaning out the grease pit at the treatment plant. Oh, Matt, they're out of order here. Okay. And that's it. Any questions?
Any questions or comments on the director's report? Commissioner Bergeron.
What is the shed being used for Lincoln Park?
Storage of materials,
Is
different
that-
equipment and materials.
Is that for Mine Falls Park Advisory, or is that for your use?
Mr.
No, it's
Caggiano?
for the Mine Falls Advisory.
Yeah,
It's more efficient to keep those small items there in that shed versus loading up a truck on a Thursday and Friday, bringing it out, then unloading material. It'll all be right there. The other thing is our newest member, Mr. Bruce Lund, the newest member of the advisory committee, has a very strong environmental education background. So long-term, we're thinking of using a portion of that shed as a gathering place and maybe have some opening, a large bulletin board that might be opened up, and we could do some educational programs for people who want to do nature walks or things like that in the park. He's willing to do that on his own time.
Commissioner Bergeron.
have the porta potties been put out and all over the city? The running season starts as races
Yeah.
and things. Seriously, and people have
Yeah.
asked me, we had a race and people go, seriously? Because they weren't
Porta
even up
Johns
by
went
that.
out last week.
Did they? Okay.
You're not gonna pull a Rosie Ruiz, so I wouldn't.
I only
One
run,
of those and pop out.
I only run short ones, so I don't have to do that, short races.
That's a good point. That's a good idea. Anyone else? Comments, questions on the director's report? Commissioner Ackerman.
Mr. Mayor, last month I recall at the end of the meeting, we had asked about a fence along Spruce and might be Temple that was damaged. I don't know if you had an opportunity to take a peek at whether or not that fence is owned by the city. That we could.
Yeah, it's owned by the railroad, I believe. I think that, I don't know, do you have any?
Steve, you want to speak to this? No.
Somebody speaks to it. I know somebody.
So I assisted Andy in researching the fence.
Okay.
All indications are that the city owns the fence.
Oh, okay.
It goes back to the incident we had in 1999. The unfortunate incident where someone
Passed away,
fell
yeah.
through to their death. The mayor at the time, Mayor Davidson, said, we found all of this in the paper, in Telegraph. The mayor said that he was trying to get Pan Am, that time it was something else, Boston and Maine, I believe, to replace their fence, which is not what we see today. It was a wrought iron fence that was there on the railroad's property, and they would not cooperate. They wanted the city to do more extensive work, and I believe the city took the initiative and put a fence up within the city's right of way. So that chain link fence, we strongly believe, is the city's.
Is there plans to fix it because it appears that it was damaged?
No, yes.
There are plans.
If it is the city's, then we will make plans to repair it. Yes.
And one more plan. Since we're talking about the railroad, we have that beautiful parkway, and the railroad owns the right-of-way where the tracks are, and there's a lot of things. Might we make a recommendation to the director to maybe reach out to the city attorney's office to write a letter to the railroad to see if they would clean that up? And maybe coming from him, it'll carry some weight.
we could. They're not really under any obligation to. Right now, I'm actually working with Tim Cummings, the Economic Development Director. The railroad wants something from us, so I sort of said, well, if they want that, let's see if we can we can negotiate that cleanup. We've even offered to clean it up ourselves. So I guess I'd like to see if Director Cummings can make any headway amicably before we send a strong letter for legal.
Good thinking. Thank you.
So yes, we're still working on that. In fact, we just discussed that early this week. So.
Great minds think alike. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments regarding the director's report? If not, the next item is commissioners' comments. Do any commissioners have any comments they wish to make? Commissioner Moriarty.
Well, I guess on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank Noel Osborne for today's tour of the wastewater treatment plant. Fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you, Noel. What was your favorite part of the tour?
Coming back up here.
I'm speechless.
I think I like the egg, that part, even though we didn't fully go in. Any other commissioners' comments? Commissioner Bergeron.
No, I just would say thank you as well. A lot of talk about the wastewater treatment plant amongst the city, and we did have a tour for anybody that would have liked to have joined us today. So just thank you, everybody, for having us, and the Access Channel for coming over and covering it. And then also we did attend today, the mayor, Commissioner Moriarty, director, and other folks, the Arbor Day celebration at Sunside Heights School, and that was a lot of fun, and the students were very enthusiastic, so thank you to all of them for that as well. And this weekend is the new boat launch is this weekend, I believe, the dedication.
So the dedication of the new boat launch, which is right behind Milliard Technology Park, is at 11 a.m. on Saturday. So anybody who wants to come, obviously, you're encouraged, invited to attend. Mr. Spelios, who has allowed the city to use, the city and the public, to use the boat ramp, will be there with his family, and as well other members of the city employees. Was negotiated by the Community Development Division, and so that will be a really nice asset. And again, anybody who wishes to come, I would definitely encourage you to stop over. I also join the comments about the Arbor Day. Mr. Caggiano and his staff did a really good job. That's always a very fun ceremony. Nick came up with some really good tree facts today, so I'll ask either of the aldermen who are here or any of the commissioners who are not here, what's the oldest tree I learned this from Mr. Caggiano, oldest tree in the United States? How old is the oldest tree? No guesses?
Thousands of years.
5,000 years. Nick can tell you. 5,000 years old. It's somewhere in California.
It wasn't in the United States. It wasn't the United States when it was planted, so that's kind of a fixed question.
Yeah, well, true. True. It may not have been planted either. It might have just...
Is it eucalyptus? What kind of tree? Bristletone pine?
Anyway, that was a very nice ceremony. Any other comments by commissioners? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Not sure that has to be said.
It doesn't, but we always don't want to leave you hanging, so we second.
All right, so that's a second. Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donchis?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergeron?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And the meeting is adjourned at 6:30.